Study guide number 9, page 2. Number 12, the two triangles are similar, which means that their sides match up proportionally. AC is 2 feet, and I'm just going to put the numbers on them, and then we'll come back with the units. So AC is here, and that's 2. BC is 4, which is here. GF is 5, which would be here. And they want us to find EF, so this is our X. Now, I like to match them up triangle to triangle. You can match up side to side, as long as you don't crisscross them, as long as you match them up correctly. I'm going to match them up little triangle to big triangle. So I'm going to say this side is to this. So I'm going to say 2 is to X as the 4 is to the 5. Several ways to work it. I'm going to cross multiply. So I get 2. I'm going to start with the 4 and the X. So I'm going to say 4 times X is equal to 2 times 5. I get 4x is equal to 10, divide by 4. And we get x is equal to 5 halves. And I would prefer to write that, especially when we're talking about measurements, as either 2 1/2 or 2.5 feet. And I'll go back and put my units right there. Number 13. Simplify this expression. When you're raising a monomial to a power, you're going to raise everything in there to the third power. So the first thing I'm going to do is raise, the 3 is already raised to the 1, and the F is raised to the 1. So I'll have 3 to the 1 times 3, which is 3 to the 3. D to the 2 times 3, which will be D to the 6. E to the 4 times 3, which would be E to the 12th. And F to the 1 times 3 would be F to the 3rd. Now, if you do that step, that's fine. It still needs to go one step further because 3 to the 3rd we can actually multiply. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. And then just bring our variables over. A bookstore marks up the price of paperbacks they purchase at $6 each by 60%. What is the markup and the new price of each paperback? So they pay $6, but they're going to charge 60% more as the markup so they can make some money. So we need to take 60% and change it to a decimal. You can do 0.6 or 0.60 and multiply it by the $6. And I'll come over here and do that. And since the $6 didn't have any change on it, I'm just going to multiply it here and do 36 with a decimal. Now for money, that will be $3.60. And that's how much they're going to mark it up. That's how much they're going to make on each book. Then it says, what's the new price of the paperback? Well, if the book started at $6, and we're going to add $3.60 to it, $9.60 will be the new price for each paperback. Number 15. Write the first 4 terms of an arithmetic sequence where a sub 1 is -4 and the common difference is 5. So I'm going to put 4 blanks. And a sub 1 is the first term, -4. Now the common difference is the number that's going to be added to the previous term to get the next one. So if we add 5, we'll get +1. Add 5, we get 6. Add 5, we get 11, and there's the first 4 terms. Number 16, what is the percent increase from 50 to 75 to 78? The percent increase or decrease is always first the difference. So 50 from 78 is 28, and it's over the first one. It's always over the first one, the original. So how much in this case we're going up. Now, there's several ways to write 28 over 50 as a percent. I can get it to a denominator of 100 by just multiplying by 2 over 2. And that's 56%. You could have divided 50 into 28 and added 2 decimal places. That will give you 0.56, which is 56%. You could also reduce it. 28 over 50 divided by 2 will be 14 over 25. Then divide or multiply by 4. There's several ways to get it to either 2 decimal places for hundreds or over a fraction of 100, but you'll still have 56%. 35% of what is 20? Well, of is your times and is your equal. So let's just write what we know. 35% is 0.35. Of is your times. What is what we don't know. We'll put that as x is equal to 20. Well, notice the 0.35 is attached to the x by multiplication, so let's divide both sides by 0.35. Now, I intended for this problem to come out even, and it doesn't, because when you start dividing 0.35 into 20, you first have to move your decimal place over 2 spaces. And there's your decimal. And 35 won't go into 2 or 20, but it will go into 200 5 times, which is 175. And subtract, you get 25. Add a 0, or bring your 0 down, and you get 7, which is 250, which is 245, which leaves you 5. Now, probably in this case, you could keep going. It's going to repeat after 6 decimal places, a little messy. I'm just going to write it as a remainder, 5 over the divisor after we moved it over, and we get 57 and 1/7 is our unknown here. I did not intend that to be a difficult one, and the one on the test won't be that involved. It will come out even. Number 18, write the line 5x minus 3y equals 15 in slope-intercept form. State the slope and the y-intercept. Again, we need to make it look like y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to write it over here. And the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the 5x. Now remember where I'm trying to go. When I write that, I'm going to write negative 3y equals, and I'm going to write the negative 5x plus 15. Because I want it in that format. Now I need to get rid of the negative 3. And I get y is equal to negative 5 over negative 3 is a positive 5/3 x. And then positive 15 divided by negative 3 is a negative 5. Be sure and clean it up. And then the slope is what's in front of the x, which is the 5/3. And then the y-intercept is what's added, subtracted here. So the y-intercept is negative 5. Number 19, what percent of 60 is 24? So the percent's what I want to know. We'll make that our x. Sometimes I put a p so it helps me remember to write a percent. Times 60 equals 24. Well, the 60 is what's attached to the x that we need to get rid of. So we'll get x is equal to 24 over 60. I can reduce it. That's pretty easy division, so I'm going to go ahead and just divide 60 into 24 and add a couple of decimal places. 60 won't go into 24, but it goes into 40, exactly 4. Now you can carry another 0 out. You could just changed it from here, but 40 hundredths is 40%. To multiply with, from scientific notation, let's put our like terms together. So we're going to do the 2.1 times the 5, and then we'll group. We're actually just using the associative property, community property, rearranging, and I'll have 10 to the negative 3rd times 10 to the 7th. 2.1 times 5 is 10.5. And 10 to the negative 3 times 10 to the 7th, when you multiply like bases, you add your exponents and you get 10 to the 4th. Now, 10 is too large. This number here has to be 1 digit in front of the decimal place. It has to be 1 to 9. So I'm going to have to move it back 1 space. So I'll have 1.05 times 10 to the 1. Now that's just converting this to scientific notation, and then bring down my 10 to the 4th. Now when I do the associative property here and regroup it, I'll get 1.05, and then 10 to the 1 times 10 to the 4th is 10 to the 5th.